All right, so let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about the document structure in technical writing, how to use headings, how to headings, then move on to using lists, tables, and visual aid, the following sections. So, so one of the fundamental aspects that form the basis of technical writing is the document structure, right? So it is essential to understand the key components of the document structure to be able to create effective technical documents. Because these components work together to provide a cohesive and informative reading experience for your readers. And so let's look at some of the components of the document structure for writing. The first one is, you know, technical writing can be like you write a lot of different documents, user manuals, books, articles, blog posts, and everything, right? So for books, the first thing you see, of course, is the title page. So the title page sets the tone for the document. So typically it includes the document title, author's name, date of publication, and any relevant affiliation or institution. Like if you collaborated with another company, another tool, or something like that, you can include that like in the title page. You can just write something like how to do this, further with written by so and so, released on so date, then collaborating with maybe Paystack or some other company or individuals, right? So that's the first thing your reader would see. Second, second thing is an abstract. So an abstract is essentially a summary that provide a concise overview of the document's main points, findings, or recommendations. So it serves as a teaser that gives the readers a glimpse of what to expect and helping them decide whether to read the article, the document, or not. Right. So in technical writing, this is very important where you have like large documents, like books, whole PDFs, documentations, and like this is usually very useful in cases where you have like big documents, large documents, right? So the next one is the table of contents. So this outlines the document structure and helps readers locate specific sections quickly, right? So I've had experiences where I maybe bought a book or downloaded the book and I found out that there's no table of contents. So I have to like scroll down or use the find option to look for what I'm looking for, the article or the section I'm looking for, right? So the table of contents lists chapters or section titles along with their respective page numbers. Sometimes they don't include page numbers, right? So a well-organized table of contents is essential for documents with multiple sections or chapters. So these two is mostly like common when you have long articles, whole PDFs, a whole book or things like that. Right. So quick check, can you guys still hear me? But I believe if you can't hear me, you would tell me, but I just feel like I should ask. So if you can hear me, just drop a message or mute yourself and tell me. Okay, you can. Oh, sorry, Eniola said there's a noise interfering with the audio. So sorry about that. Yeah, good afternoon, Mutiat. Eniola, is it better now?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for pointing that out.
Oh
So,
well, but it's going off and on. I could hear it just now.
okay, please, if you
Yeah, it's
cannot
fine. I
hear
think it's fine now. Yeah,
at any
thank you.
point, you can just unmute yourself and tell me, please. So I just don't,
All right.
because I don't keep the chat box open all the time. So I don't know.
Okay,
Okay,
but I think it's okay now. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you very much. So as for table of contents, it is very, very important when you have documents with multiple sections or chapters. Right. So the next one is list of figures and tables. So this works like well when you're working with like engineering documents that works with hardwares and things like that. So you want to have a list of figures and tables. So figures, tables, illustrations, and things like that should be provided after the table of contents. Right. So this list would identify and briefly describe each figure or table or illustration, right, along with its page number. So it helps in easy reference and navigation. So people can just go there to like see detailed explanations about the figures, which sections they are appearing in and that. So again, this is not very, very common, but you would come across it when you are working with hardware products most times. So when you are documenting like a fan, a generator, things like that. So you want to have this.
Hi, Adam. Sorry to interject. I can still hear the noise,
You can
and
see
it's
here the
kind of
noise now.
yes.
Okay. So how about now?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. I don't know why others are not talking about it, but thank you for that. So the list of figures and tables identifies and briefly describes each figure or table along with its page number and other details, maybe labeling and that. So it aids in easy reference and application of the document. So the next one is the introduction. So the introduction sets the stage for the document by providing context, background information, and the purpose of the document. It also outlines the scope and objectives, giving the reader a clear understanding of what to expect. Right. So the introduction is like where your reader decide whether or not to read your article or your tutorial. In cases of articles, tutorials, and notebooks, right? So once I read your introduction, I want to be able to know if the document will contain what I'm looking for, so I know whether that's what it is, or just move on with my search, right? So a well-crafted introduction grabs the reader attention and motivates them to continue reading. So this is what you want to do when you're writing your introduction. You cover a little bit of what you will talk about in the document, so they know that okay, let me continue reading. And the next one is the body of the document. So this is where the main content resides, and usually it is divided into sections or chapters, each of those addressing a specific topic or subtopic. So these sections, as we discussed in previous classes, should be organized logically. Should be organized logically, following a clear structure that flows smoothly from one point to the next. Right. So headings and subheadings play a crucial role in guiding readers through the document, which is what we'll talk about next. So headings and subheadings are used to break down the content into manageable chunks and provide hierarchical structure. They help readers to navigate the documents, find relevant information easily, and understand the organization of the ideas and the concepts you're trying to uh, talk about in your document. So, consistent formatting and a logical hierarchy of headings are essential for clarity of your document. So, to make your document clear and easy to go through and follow, you need to use headings and subheadings properly. So the last one is references and citations. So usually technical writing most times or technical content most times are not standalone documents. They are not usually standalone work. You have to use pieces, bits and pieces of other people's work, right? Or even your own previous work. So properly formatted references and citations are essential for giving credit to your sources, establishing credibility, and allowing readers to explore related materials for further information. So this can be as little as links, just linking to concepts that you believe you didn't cover enough to cover that better, like to documents that cover that better. So you can just link the concept to another article, another document for the readers to explore and further read on whatever they're trying to learn about, right? So in this section, we're going to look at creating effective headings and subheadings in writing. Okay, what's wrong with this slide? Yeah, so in the realm of technical writing, complex information needs to be presented in a way that is easy for the reader to digest and understand. So like I've said in previous classes, this is the reason why technical writing exists. So you deal with complex information and you need to present them in a way that the reader can easily understand and use the information given them, right? So one of the most essential tools for achieving this um, presentation is the use of headings and subheadings. So well-crafted headings and subheadings not only provide structure to your document, but also acts as signposts which guides your readers through the content. So people can easily skim through the document and look for headings that describe what they are looking for specifically. Okay, have a message. Um sorry about that. It's just that when everywhere is quiet, I tune my voice to I'm sorry, that's how I am, but I'll try to increase it. Thank you for pointing that out, Melissa. So Melissa said my voice is naturally not loud. So yeah, sorry about that. So, let me just I'll be conscious of that from now. Thank you. So well-crafted headings and subheadings provide structure to your documents and also act as signposts which guides your readers through the content. So people can easily see what they're looking for without reading everything. So benefit of effective headings and subheadings technical writing. So the first one is it enhances readability, right? So technical documents are often dense with information including facts, figures, and technical jargon. So without clear headings and subheadings, readers may feel overwhelmed and struggle to find the information they need, right? So effective headings break down the content into manageable sections which makes it easier for readers to navigate and comprehend. All right, the next one is organizing information. Headings and subheadings serve as roadmap for a document. Right, they help you organize your thoughts and present information in logical order. This organization is particularly crucial in technical writing because it is very, very important to use where concepts are often interrelated and build upon one another. So using headings just help you organize your information to put things in a logical order. So you don't put things that should come before a particular concept after the concept, right? So it helps you organize information in your documents. So aiding skimming and scanning. So not all readers will read your technical document from start to finish, especially in this age of very, very low attention span, right? So many readers are going to actually skim or scan the documents to just look for specific information, right? So structuring your headings and subheadings logically allows readers to quickly locate sections that are most relevant to their needs, right? So using headings and subheadings helps your readers to just scan through the document and get what you are looking for easily. So it also helps you to highlight key points, right? So in cases where you are listing, when you are explaining key points in detail, so the the headings and subheadings can be used as takeaways. So once I read the article the first time, I've already read like the everything. So I can just come back to the article to see the headings and subheadings to just extract the key points and just move on without the need to read the whole thing again. Right. So for example, now what I'm doing now is highlighting key points. So if you notice these titles are in bold, right? So you can just come back to this article and just see, okay, what are the benefits of using headings? And you can see that, okay, enhancing readability, organizing information, it helps with skimming and scanning, highlighting key points, and you can just move on without reading all these details that are under each of the points, right? So that's another benefit. So how to craft effective headings in technical writing? Let's go at those in this section. So the first thing you need to do is like be descriptive and specific, right? So your heading should provide a clear indication of what the section is about, which means you should avoid using vague or generic headings like introduction or conclusion. All right. So in most cases, introduction should be omitted. I do that all the time because every company I work for tells me to like omit the introduction and just put it under the title. So I don't need the introduction. But conclusion, it's a two-way thing. So it will be up to you to decide if you want to use conclusion or be more descriptive in that part of your document. Because most times I use conclusion like a lot. So it is not bad in every case, but definitely remove introduction and things from the documents. You don't need them in most cases. Right. So instead, you should opt for descriptive and specific headings that convey the content's essence. For example, just saying data analysis does not really convey what you're trying to talk about in that section, right? But if you are specific that, okay, statistical analysis of customer feedback, people are going to know that, okay, this is what we're talking about here. We're talking about the analysis of customer feedback in this section. So, because when they read data analysis as the heading, they'll be like, okay, what are we analyzing? What are we going to talk about? So just be descriptive and specific so you make it easy on your readers to know what they are going to read in that particular section. Okay, right. So the next one is using parallel section. So parallelism is something that will come up a lot in this class in other parts. So in this case, parallelism or using parallel structure helps you maintain consistency in your headings. Right. This means that all headings at the same level should have a similar grammatical structure, and most usually similar grammatical structure, similar font sizing, font style and everything. So they know that okay, this is a heading that will probably have multiple headings, multiple subheadings under it. So an example of that is when you write things like designing the software in the first uh, H2 heading that you have in your document. Then the next H2 heading you wrote to code efficiently. So they'll be like, I'm not getting this. Most people will be like, what are we doing here? Because such documents, in my opinion, should not even pass the editing stage without correction, right? Which is what we're learning here anyways. So the proper one that is parallel and easy to understand is when you write something like designing the software logically, to present the next thing should be similar, so that you can just write coding efficiently instead of to code efficiently. But in contrast, if you want to use to code efficiently, you have to like change this designing the software to like to design the software or something like that, something that will just make sense upon like the first read. Like once I read it, I know that okay, this is what I do. So designing the software as the previous heading, coding efficiently will make much more sense. Okay, we text it. So the attendance form is the chat box. So do well to fill that up while you listen. So using the same grammatical structure would help you about like convey your um, information better. Because designing the software as a previous heading, then having coding efficiently as the following heading will make much more sense. So as for the second one, the third one is you should keep them concise. So when using headings in your article, you should always try to keep them concise. It is important to be descriptive as we saw earlier, but you should also avoid making your headings overly long. Like too long is just stressful on your readers and can confuse them. So ideally, headings should be brief and to the point. Long headings can confuse readers and defeat the purpose of providing quick navigation. Because remember, the purpose of using headings and subheadings, or headings in this case, is for providing quick navigation. So an example of that is when you write the detailed step-by-step process for configuring network security protocols in a corporate environment. That's just too long, way long. It's too much. So you can just be concise and just write configuring network security protocols, and maybe in the description of the first paragraph you can explain that okay, we are going to be looking at the detailed step-by-step process for configuring the network security protocols in a corporate environment. So that would make much sense than that being the heading. So it should be like put it under in cases where you are writing things that you can use subtitles like proper documents and not just blog post or articles. You can put that as the subtitle of your heading or the subheading. So yeah, keep them concise and just keep them short and to the point, brief and to the point. So the next one is use proper capitalization. This is one thing I've always had issues with. Most times when my articles get sent back, it's because of proper capitalization of headings, right? Because I'm used to, okay, so follow a consistent capitalization style for your headings, right? So in most cases, sentence case, which is capitalizing only the first word and any proper nouns like names of products, names of people, and all of that, names of companies, right? You only capitalize those, or title case, which you capitalize the first letter of each major word, except the words like is and things like that. So a good example of that is sentence case, which feels weird to me most times. I would not lie. Seems weird to me most times for headings, right? So you capitalize only the first word, right? But if you have things like name of companies, names of people, you can just capitalize those two, right? So the other one that I'm very, very used to and get my article sent back a lot is title case. So it's just my normal wiring to just use title case because it makes much more sense to me, which is capitalizing the every major word, the title. So in this case, you notice that the A and on are not capitalized and the major words are capitalized. So use proper capitalization. If you use sentence case once, use that all through your documents. If you use title case once, use that all through your documents. So you should follow a consistent capitalization style for your headings. So the next one is to avoid punctuation. So generally, right, in technical writing, most times it is best to avoid punctuation marks such as colons, semicolons, or periods in headings, right? So the goal is to keep headings simple and easy to read. If necessary, though, you should consider rephrasing the heading to eliminate the need for punctuation. If you feel like, okay, I need to like put in this um, semicolon, you should think of how you can rephrase it and reword the heading to remove the need for the whatever punctuation you you add there. Right. So an example of that is key elements of project management. And Grammarly does this thing a lot that it will like pressure me to put uh, a full stop at the end of headings, and I'll just have to like click dismiss, dismiss, dismiss every time. So you should watch out for that. The right way is to just eliminate the need for punctuation marks all the way, like generally, but because this is technical writing. But in case of content writing, it is normal and acceptable. Right. So next one is use hierarchy effectively. So in technical documents, you often need multiple levels of headings to represent the hierarchy of the information you're trying to pass across to everybody. So you need to ensure that the hierarchy is clear and consistent, right? So typically this involves using different font sizes, styles, or even numbering systems for different levels. So an example of using numbers for hierarchy would be when you have like subheadings under the introduction. You can just write 1.1, 1.2. So the reader can know that, okay, see under the introduction. We're still talking about the introduction. We've now moved on to something else, right? This could also be like smaller font size and you remove the numbering, numbering system, or smaller font size, or different font styles. So I support smaller font sizes or numbering systems most times. So if they know that, okay, once they see two, they know that we've moved on to the next heading. And 2.1, 2.2 are still under the current second heading. So you should endeavor to use hierarchy effectively when using this in your articles or in your documents. So those are for headings. So let's look at the guidelines for crafting sub-headings, technical writing. So this will be a little bit similar to what we've seen, but they are also a little bit different. So I feel like it's necessary. So maintain consistency. Again, consistency is key when it comes to subheadings. So ensure that subheadings at the same level have a consistent structure and formatting. So this consistency aids readability and makes it easier for readers to navigate your document. So consistency can also be like, in this case, in this example, benefits of solar energy as a subheading. Then the next subheading is drawbacks of solar energy. So the grammatical structure does not like make much sense. No, wait. I put the consistent structure before the inconsistent structure. I'm so sorry about that. So the first one is the consistent structure, which makes the most sense because benefits as the first subheading. Once they read drawbacks, they know that, okay, we're talking about the disadvantages or the drawbacks in this section. Right. So the inconsistent structure would look like benefit of solar energy. Then in the next one that I wanted to talk about drawbacks, you now said something like analyzing the negative aspects. They'll be like analyzing the negative aspects of like what are we talking about here? Right. So just make it consistent. Once you know that I talked about the benefits, the sensible thing to do, the that makes most sense is to like use proper word and structure. Just drawbacks of solar energy. You understand that, okay, we're talking about the drawbacks. So such consistency aids readability and helps your readers to properly navigate your document. Also, I should say if you have any question, feel free to mute yourself or drop a message in the chat box. So the next one is subheadings. You should provide context, right?
Sorry,
Subheadings.
Adams. This is Eniola again.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now. Sorry, I wanted to ask a question before we go too far from it, since you said we can ask a question. Um, the examples you gave on the what's it called now? Punctuation,
Yes.
the wrong and right example, they look the same to me. Please, can you,
Yeah,
you
they are
know,
the same
help me?
except for the period. Um, so okay, let's go back to
Sorry,
that.
I didn't get you. Looks
They're
as if my
actually the
network.
same. Yeah, they are the same, but notice the wrong one
Yeah.
as a period mark. Can you?
Oh, okay. There's a period mark.
Okay,
I
yes.
can see it now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome. So where were we? Okay, so subheadings should not. Okay, we have a question. Is there any role as a technical writing editor? Yes, yes, there is. Sorry about that. Yes, there is. And I also currently work as a technical writing editor. I just started the role last week. Yes. So there is. So you just read and edit documents the other writers have written. So what I do in this new role is just review articles that that has been written already. So where can we find such roles? So I mean, just job boards and LinkedIn. This person reached out to me on WhatsApp. So one of my technical technical writing groups, and she reached out to tell me about the role if I would be interested, and I said yes. So that was how I got it. But technical writing editor role are very common, and you usually find them on job boards of technical writing. So Victoria, Victor, um, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. You're welcome. So moving on, providing context. So subheadings should not exist in isolation, right? Each subheading should relate to the preceding heading and provide context for the content that follows. So this ensures a smooth flow of information and reduces confusion for readers, right? So the heading would look like uh, in this example, the heading says solar energy as a renewable resource, right? So it just makes sense for the subheadings to talk about and to state the context of the subheading by adding solar energy, right? So some people might feel like, okay, I'm talking about solar energy, so the reader should know that when I put benefits, like they just put benefits as the heading instead of benefit of solar energy. That okay, we are talking about solar energy, so you should already know that um I mean benefits of solar energy. So you should not do that because you are wasting your readers' brain computational power. So they need to like think about it in most cases, especially if the contents that preceded the section is a lot. So sometimes they need to like go back and say, okay, what are we talking about here? Because you've communicated a lot of other points and different things between the sections. So we should make it easy on them by stating, okay, benefits of solar energy. So they know that, okay, we're talking of we're talking about solar energy. Or if they scroll down and did not read the solar energy as a renewable resource section and they just see the benefits of solar energy, they know that, okay, I can start reading from here. Because if they say something like benefits. They be like benefits of what, and they will not understand that easily. So yes, provide context, and they should not the subheadings should not exist in isolation. Okay, yeah. Elizabeth Momo has a question. She said, "Can we also work in other companies like an electronic company, or we can only work with programming languages?" If you notice this section where I discussed, or even the previous classes, but this most recent one that I discussed about the document structure, I talked about titles, um, list of figures, and I even um, pointed out an example of that. I'm not sure if you've joined us, but I pointed out an example talking about when you are documenting or writing a user manual of maybe, okay, maybe you are writing about an electronic fan and how your readers can put them together, or your users of the products can put them together. You want to like have a section that lists figures and like diagrams and everything, so you can properly label them. Then you point those figures to the corresponding sections. So normally in programming languages, you don't need to do such. So that's like the reason why I include such examples, because while preparing the slides, I felt like, okay, is this necessary? But I remember that um, during the first week, I had like conversations with like everyone, and everyone, most people here don't have experience with programming, coding, and all of that. So that's why I include such examples. So you can work anywhere. You can work anywhere. You can work with in the aerospace industry and healthcare, anything. As long as you can read, Abby, you can learn about what you want to write about and simplify the concepts. So you can do that. Okay. So thank you for clarifying. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I believe that should answer the question. So moving on, you should use subheadings to group information, right? Subheadings can be used to group related information together, which makes it easier for your audience to grasp the concepts easily. So you should think of subheadings as mini chapters that help organize the content within a section, right? So another thing we'll talk about later in the section will be nesting subheadings. So, but a very good example of that is this. So heading would be web development technologies. Subheading will look like front end technologies, which will be under web development technology. So under that, you would have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and others under front-end technologies. Then you create another subheading that will be directly under the web development technologies, which states back-end technologies, right? Then you would have more subheadings under that. So you can just use it to. So, for example, if you have a document like a book or something like that, that talks about web development technologies, and the reader sees something like, okay, web development technologies, front-end technologies, HTML, CSS, they will know that, okay, these sections are together. Like front-end technologies and HTML, CSS are related, while back-end technologies are not related to that and are under web development technologies instead. Right. So you can use subheadings to group information, which will make it easier for your readers to understand what you're trying to talk about to them. So the next one is be concise and specific. So like headings, I mentioned this in the heading section. So subheadings should be concise and specific. So you should also avoid long-winded subheadings that can confuse your readers, right? So instead of long-winded subheadings or too much words in your subheadings, you should focus on conveying the main point of the section. So an example of that would be writing challenges in software testing. And instead of writing addressing compatibility testing challenges. So these are very, very nice subheadings because they know that, okay, we are talking about challenges, software testing. Everything about that will be under this particular subheading. Being specific can also be like writing, addressing compatibility testing challenges. So you know that, okay, we're talking about addressing compatibility testing challenges. It's so good. So you should try to be concise and specific. Right. So mistakes you should avoid when using headings and subheadings. The first one is overusing them. So overusing headings and subheadings are essential. No, sorry about that. Subheadings and headings are essential for breaking down your content, but overusing them can be overwhelming for readers. For example, when you have subheadings that the contents under the subheadings are just like one sentence, and you do that like consistently instead of using something like a list, right? They will be like, this is too much. I'm seeing a subheading like every sentence I'm reading in a subheading. That doesn't make any sense. So you should use subheadings judiciously while focusing on the most important and critical points or sections that require like further definitions. So don't overuse headings and subheadings. Being inconsistent is another mistake that people make. So like we saw in the first class of previous week, consistency is paramount in technical writing, right? So inconsistencies in formatting, capitalization, structure, things like that can confuse the readers. So make use of templates and style guides to maintain uniformity. So, like I mentioned, sentence case and title case is something you should decide on in your style guide. Then use that in all of your documents. So you are consistent and they know that there's when they see like a capitalized heading, they know that okay, this this is this is a heading and not a sentence. So you should use templates and style guides to maintain that uniformity. So the next one is creating headings after writing. This is like another mistake I see people make a lot. When I review people's article, one thing they do is try to write headings after writing the whole content. So writing headings and subheadings should not be an afterthought. So always remember that they should be considered during the planning stage or phase of your document, because this ensures that the content would flow logically and help you as a roadmap from the outset, right? So once you've crafted your headings and subheadings, you know that okay, you're just writing the content below those headings and subheadings. So you should also do them in the planning phase instead of writing the documents or the contents, then trying to figure out where you should put um, a heading or a subheading. You should not do that. It will like waste a lot of your time, really. So another mistake is people make is neglecting review and revision. Once you've created your headings and subheadings, it is essential to review and revise them so you can ensure that they accurately reflect the content and are in best possible order to guide your readers and your audience effectively. So you should always revise them and say, okay, should this be a subheading or should I just use list instead? Or should this be a separate heading instead of a subheading under this place? So that's something you should always like try to do. So you know that once you publish your article or give the give the article to your readers, they can use it properly. Right. So the next section we are going to be talking about is using lists and tables. Using lists, tables, and visual aids. Correct. Okay. The effective use of lists, tables, and visual aids is essential and very, very important in order to facilitate understanding and enhance the overall quality of your technical content. Right. So whether you're writing software manuals, engineering reports, scientific research papers, anything at all. So this is another example where you should know that I am not just referring, and this training is not just focused on programmers or coders or developers. Right? So if we were doing just for developers, we would have started writing because there's not so much to know, and you can learn all of these things on the go. But when you want to when because we have people that are from different backgrounds and not necessarily just developers, we need to double down and make sure everyone understands the various aspects of technical writing. So yeah, I digress. Engineering reports, scientific research papers, or anything at all, incorporating lists, tables, visual aids, diagrams can significantly improve the readability and comprehensibility of your content. Right. So using numbered lists. So there are two types of lists, as you might have noticed from the things you've read and all of that. So numbered lists are best suited for conveying a sequence of steps or hierarchical structure, just as Mutiat explained to us on Monday when she was explaining or telling us about what she had read, right? So number lists are best suited for that, conveying a sequence of steps or hierarchical structure, right? So for instance, if you're writing a user manual for assembling a piece of furniture, a numbered list can be used or employed to outline the steps in the assembly process, right? So you need to make it obvious that okay, number one, do this, number two, do this, right? So you should use number list in this case every time, right? So let's look at some of the guidelines you can follow to use number list in your technical content. Consistency is the first one. Again, consistency is very, very important in technical writing. This has been coming up a lot, a lot. I did not want to remove them because it's just very important because um the concepts are already complex. So you are trying to make it easier for people to understand. So you have to be consistent. So again, maintain consistent formatting throughout the list. So ensure that each item starts with a number and ends with punctuation, typically. The next one is parallelism. So keep the structure of the items in the list items parallel. This means using consistent grammar and sentence structure for each item. For example, if the first item is a verb phrase, all subsequent items should also be verb phrases. For example, when you're writing the manual for setting up or putting together a furniture, the first numbered list could be something like open um the foil or the nylon that product was wrapped with, right? So the next one should be something like do this, then the next one should be like create this. So they should all be verb phrases. If the first item is a verb phrase, subsequent items should also be verb phrases. So once you start with create this, you should not deviate from that and just write a normal sentence instead of starting with a verb phrase. Right? So create this, do this, delete this, open this, close this. So you should make sure like the structure of the items is parallel. So the next one will be clarity. Clarity is another concept that has been coming up a lot classes. So be clear and concise in your descriptions. Each item in a number list should be self-contained. and easy to understand on it. So again, once you write like do this particular thing, that sentence or that particular list item should be understandable on its own. You should be able to know that okay, this is what I'm to do without moving further down the list. Right? Because remember, it's usually a set of instructions, right? So each item in the number list should be self-contained and easy to understand on its own. So you should use number lists sparingly, right? So number list should only be served for situations where the order of items is essential. So if you know that this thing has to follow a particular order, you should use number list. But when the order is not important, you should just use the next type of list to document notes, which is related or unordered lists. So overusing numbered lists can make your document cluttered, confusing, and less readable. Because if the list items are not instructions or are not things like that, I would not want to move forward without understanding the first item. Like, okay, this is not an instruction, this is just a sentence. Can I move further down the line, or do I need to do this? What do I need to do? So just don't number your list if the order of the items are essential. Right. So using bulleted lists directly. Bulleted lists are suitable for presenting information that does not require a specific order, such as list of features, advantages, benefits, or requirements or prerequisites. Right. So the guidelines for using bulleted lists are going to be similar to that of numbered lists, but let's take a look at them. So as with number lists, you should maintain consistent formatting when creating bulleted lists. Right. So bulleted lists can be um, preceded with circles, squares, dashes, or any other symbol in front of each list item. So you should use the same type of bullet points throughout the list so they are not confused. Because when you use circles in the first list and you put square in the second list, they'll be like, are these related? What do these circles, squares, or dashes, what do they mean? Right? So you should be consistent in that aspect. The next one is parallelism. So as with number lists, you should ensure that each item in the list follows the same grammatical structure. So if one item starts with a verb, the subsequent list items should also start with verbs. Right? So clarity. Again, make each bullet point concise and focused. Bullet points in this case, sorry about that, means each list item. So you should avoid long sentences or paragraphs in the bulleted list. A rule of thumb that I use is keep list items numbered or bulleted um, as single paragraphs. They should always be one paragraph. So multiple paragraph list items are usually like frowned upon in most of the style guides I've used. So yeah, so you should avoid long sentences or paragraphs in a bulleted list, as well as numbered lists too, sometimes. So hierarchy, if there is a need to show hierarchy among um, items, right, you should consider using sub bullets or sub lists. So you can nest list items, right? So another thing is when nesting list items, if for example you used a dash for the main list, if you are putting in a sub list, you should use a different type of bullet points. Maybe if you use a circle, you should change the sub list to squares or dashes. right? So nesting is nice, makes sense, but you should avoid excessive nesting so you don't like confuse your readers. Okay. Okay, Janet Adesua said she just joined and she had network issues. I'm so sorry about that. I hope your network is fine now. And um you can always watch the recording and also drop the slides for you to use. I'm so sorry about that. Welcome to the class, Janet. You're welcome. You're welcome. So moving on, using the power of tables in technical writing. What was I thinking when putting this writing style? Which one is power of tables? We are talking about normal tables, oh. We are not talking about we are talking about normal tables. So you can just ignore the power thing, right? So tables are indispensable in technical writing for presenting structured data, comparisons, and other complex information, right? Because they offer a concise and organized way to display information that might be cumbersome in sentences or paragraphs or section or even sections, right? So tables are very, very important in technical writing. So guidelines for using tables in technical writing. Again, clarity. The primary use of a table is to make complex data more understandable. So you should ensure that the table's layout are and labels are clear and easy to interpret, right? So the next one is simplicity. You should keep the table design as simple as possible. So avoid unnecessary colors, shading, sorry about that, shading or complex formatting that might distract readers from the content. So keep it simple and straightforward. So consistency, you should maintain a consistent structure throughout the table. Use the same formatting for headers, same formatting for columns, and same formatting for rows because this helps your readers to be able to read your content properly without getting confused. So labeling, you should try to provide clear and concise headings and labels for rows and columns when using tables, right? So these labels should explain what the content of each section is without the further need for explanation. So once they see that, okay, this is the label of this table, they should know that, okay, this is it. No complex um, labels or things that they need to like think too much about before they understand. So you should provide clear and concise headings and labels for rows and columns. Right. So I believe this should be the last section of this class, enhancing understanding with visual aids. So visual aids such as diagrams, pictures, charts, graphs, and images play a very, very important role in technical writing because they help you simplify complex concepts and enhance reader comprehension. They help people understand whatever you're trying to convey to them easily, right? They always say a picture is what, uh, yeah, a picture is what a thousand words, or yeah, something like that. I read something like that somewhere. Yeah, so guidelines for using visual aids in technical writing. Relevance. So relevance in the sense that you should ensure that visual aids directly relate to the content, right? They should clarify or illustrate a point, not merely serve as decorative. So um when I first like started technical writing and I send my articles to like my peers to review for me. They usually tell me like, why don't you add like a GIF or a meme or things like that to for your for it to look friendly or something like that. Then I tell them, you're not reading my article to see memes. That's what Twitter is for, right? So you are reading my article to solve a problem, to learn about a concept or solve a particular problem that you have going through. So you don't need that. So if you are reading for leisure or you are just reading for the sake of reading, my article might not be the best for you. But if you are looking to solve problems, you should definitely read them because it's going to be very, very helpful and you would be less concerned about seeing memes or pictures that does not relate to the content. Right. So I find it annoying most times when I see memes in technical content. And I'm like, what is this? Why am I seeing a meme of someone dancing? Why? What are we doing here? Right? Shows on seriousness, but I might just be too rigid, but you should ensure that the visual aids that you use directly relate to the content most times. But if you're someone that enjoys memes, you want to just entertain your audience a little bit, feel free. Not everybody like there are so many ways to kill a cat, but just try to accessibility. Right. So if your document will be distributed electronically, make sure the visual aids are accessible to all readers, including those with disabilities. Right. So provide alternative text descriptions for images and ensure compatibility with screen readers. So in cases where you are writing something that will be converted to to a PDF, right? So using screenshots would make more sense than using like a screen recording or a GIF that describes an action, right? So if you used a video or a screen recording, it will be static in a PDF file. So even readers that don't have disabilities will be like, what is this person trying to convey with these screenshots? Because I'm not seeing anything. So you should provide alternative text descriptions or use screenshots in this case to ensure compatibility with readers, screen readers. So consistency, you should try to maintain a consistent style format for visual aids throughout the document. So you should just try to, in cases where you are creating like images or diagrams, you should maintain the brand colors and things like that throughout the visual aids so you don't confuse the readers. So your article just looks fine, right? So it makes your content look professional and you know that bragging rights. Appropriateness. So you should take your time to choose the type of visual aid that best convey your message. So this can be a diagram that describes just the step by step, or an image, or a pie chart, a graph, things like that, right? So it should be appropriate in that context. For example, a pie chart is better for illustrating proportions, while line graphs are suitable for showing trends over a certain period of time, right? So you should take your time to know that, okay, what type of visual aid should I use an image? Should I use a pie chart or a line graph? So remember, is to enhance the usability and readability of it, comprehensibility too. So choose the best one that helps them understand the context. So common mistakes to avoid when using lists, tables, and visual aids. So overcrowding, don't overload your documents with lists, tables, and visual aids. Yes. So some people say for every 150 words, you should include you should include an image in your article, or maybe is it for 1,000 characters or so. But again, I don't believe that because it's just be too much and overwhelm your readers and your content too. So use them only when necessary. Lists, tables, and visual aids should be used sparingly, so you don't overcrowd your document, right? So inadequate labels. Always provide clear and descriptive labels for lists, tables, and visual aids. So after each table, you can add like a description of what the table is trying to convey, and you should label your visual aids such as images of maybe the engine you are trying to talk about, things like that. So you should just label them properly. You can use the guidelines we discussed about lists, tables, and visual aids to help you in this case. Right. So inconsistent formatting. You should maintain a consistent style and formatting that we mentioned earlier for this element throughout your document. Right. So inconsistencies can disrupt the flow and understanding of the content. Yeah, so the next one is the very, very common mistake is lack of context. So you should prepare like proper context before going into creating a list of tables. Right? Presenting, so we should avoid presenting lists, tables, or visual aids without proper context. So readers should be able to understand why the information is relevant and how it connects to the text. Right. So yeah. And that is the end of today's class. So um this is the part where we take questions, and you guys should fill the attendance so you don't miss that. I'm trying to send that. So I just dropped the attendance form again. Yeah, I just dropped it again. Blessing. So that is it. So if you have any question, just drop a question in the chat box or unmute yourself and speak. So Melissa, you said you were going to go through the reading you did the last time and tell us about what you learned today. So
Yes, but it's very long. Do you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. What did you say?
I said yes, I did.
Yes. So can you tell us a thing or two?
Okay. Um, please, I'm coming. Okay. Um, one should use the preferred form of writing for technical writers, like is to use active verbs due to the fact that it indicates strong actions. Also, we must be careful of, and we must reduce how we start sentences with there is or there are. Using alternatives to there is or there are shows true love to your readers.
But the main reasons true and experienced writers use them is because they want to avoid creating true subjects or verbs, or they want to avoid um and like a noun taking responsibility of the action. So certain adjectives and verbs should be minimized as they can add literary flair to technical writing materials. Like you want to say something that should be formal, and you are saying, for example, the I can't give an example right now, but using unnecessarily using adverbs and adjectives like interestingly, seemingly, verily, we should minimize our use of them because it defeats the purpose of technical writing, which should be more instructional than for entertainment purpose. Then, in order to organize our documents for legibility, consistency, and clarity, we must understand and state our document scope first, which is understanding and defining the boundaries and constraints of the document we intend to create, as this benefits both the writer and the reader. If the document begins to transit from the in scope to the out of scope, which is non-scope, then the writer must review either the document itself or the scope statements. Then the writer can declare the audience to which he or she intends to write for, and then summarize key points from the start to increase enthusiasm in readers finishing the document so that the readers would be eager to read the next page and not feel bored that they don't even want to even continue reading the document. Then regarding the style guides are the set of principles and guidelines through which a technical writing must follow in order to maintain clarity, consistency, correctness, and conciseness. The types of style guides are Apple Style Guide, Microsoft Style Guide, and GNOME. I remember GNOME's Style Guide. Then, should I talk about what we discussed last week?
Yes, yes. Everything you can share, just keep
Okay,
going.
so last week we discussed audience analysis and user-centered approach. How the technical writer is determined on his ability to resonate and connect with his audience. Creating a write-up that doesn't meet the needs of the intended audience may hamper on the reputation and credibility of the writer. It may be seen as, okay, this person is not professional, and it can affect his reputation, whereby when people have seen a document that doesn't resonate with them, or they feel this is not professional enough, this person's not good enough, like that person will not want to even read other articles or other documents, other write-ups of that technical writer if they ever come across such write-ups. Then the first approach to ensuring users' needs are met includes we should first of all analyze the audience reading preferences. That's what the audience like, the audience that we want to write for. We should analyze their reading preference. Then we should create audience personas. In business and marketing, we usually call it user persona, which is like how will I put it now? It's an illustration of the different customers we expect. Okay, it's an illustration of the different persons or individuals we want to reach or want to meet their needs, and like we craft like specific scenarios, their needs, their characteristics, something like that. I can't explain more than that. So user-centered approach is more intentional than the audience analysis, as it crafts the write-up to be more user-centered. This can be met by prioritizing clarity and accessibility, providing examples and scenarios, then cyclic and continuous improvement in iterations, continuous improvements. This enhances the user's satisfaction, it meets the user's needs, it increases brand loyalty, reputation, and product adoption. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, that's all I
yeah.
have to say. Thank you.
Okay, that is that is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is a lot. So thank you, thank you for that. So far, so no questions in the chat box. If you have questions, please drop it in the chat box. So Victoria Victor, she like I gave you guys a reading last week and we did a review of those on Monday. So she didn't do us. That's why she's doing her own today. But I don't remember you. Victor, did you were not in class on Monday, right? Okay, wasn't there to the end of the class. But did you like um tell us about what you read over the weekend from the links I added to the slides? Okay, so oh, you were not aware. You were not informed. Okay, so week 2, day 3 slides had like the last page had some links that you need to go through. Yes, so you just go through the links, read about them, you summarize what you learned from those on Friday. So yeah, Victor, I would try to remember to ask you about that. So yes, those are the instructions. The last page of the week 2, day 3 slides. They are like I believe 9 links or so that you can go through. So you read the summaries, right? So yes. So I'm assuming everyone understands what we learned today, and you guys would learn more from the slides, obviously. So okay, that will be the end of today's class. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I please signify if you filled the form, the attendance form.
Victoria is asking a question.
Yeah, I already answered that.
She asked another one.
Okay, I can't see that.
Okay.
Is it the one she said was the instructions?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I've answered that too.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome, everyone. If you feel the um, attendance form, please signify because someone reached out to me that they were not able to fill it. That has happened twice. You're welcome, Melissa. You're welcome, Victoria. Did Mr. Okoro anoint it? Okay, you fill the form. You're welcome, Mr. Okoro. So yes, filled it. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, everyone. So expect the slides, and you can always drop your questions in the Zoom group chat. You've missed filling the form thrice, Victoria. You should reach out to Aisha the Sumo or Zoom regarding that if you attended the class, but I think the attendance is like to help with the certification. So just talk to Aisha to do something about that. She should be able to help you with that. But if you if you've been joining the class, I'm not sure why you've been missing the form, but reach out to Aishat about that. She should be able to help you. Okay. Yeah, you don't you have to stay. You have to stay till the end most time. But she sent the attendance form like 30 minutes in most time. Most times. So if you join after or before that, if you join before that, you'll be able to see it. But if you join after that, you might not be able to see it. But anytime if you have like any issues and you want to get off the class early, you can always like request for the form and I'll send it to you. So you can just fill it before you leave. Alright. So yes, reach out to her. You're welcome. Okay, let's stop this recording so we don't lose it. Okay, stop recording.